Also, these Eastern European countries, they don't speak English. If you look up the English proficiency in these countries like Belarus, I mean, the women are beautiful, don't get me wrong. You see photos or videos and you're like, fuck. But they don't speak English. And say they do. There is a world of difference between being conversant or like you can do limited stuff with English and being fluent. And there's a difference between being fluent and speaking high English. Okay. If you speak very high level English, okay, which, I would say I do, you're not going to be able to converse with somebody who speaks effectively the level at which these people might be able to speak. It's like these Pacific Islanders. You can communicate with Pacific Islanders. They speak Pidgin. It's a real abbreviated form of English. That's essentially what you're going to have in Eastern Europe. Um, Maybe you can ask for directions or where the restaurant is, but that's about all. You're not going to have an in-depth conversation about the meaning of life. They just don't have the ability. Maybe in their own language, but you're not going to fucking learn it. I mean, get real. Let's get real. You've got to accept your limitations. You're not going to learn Russian where it's a different alphabet. Okay, Cyrillic. It looks like lettering that was found on the Roswell crash wreckage. There's like a backwards three. There's something that looks like two M's joined upside down. Like, what the fuck is this shit? These aren't even letters. These are just numbers. There's like some Greek letters, then some numbers. Okay, you got numbers. You just ran out of stuff, so we just took a number and flipped it. Okay, you're not going to learn that language. Get real. You're not. And if you do, it's going to be at such a baby level. What are you going to do? You're going to hope for some horrible relationship where it's there's no communication or understanding. Fuck that. But those countries had very low birth rates starting 20 years ago. So if they had a record low birth rate of 20 years ago, you can imagine that you have very, very few today, 18, 19, 20-year-old people in those countries, Poland, Latvia, Russia, Ukraine, Belarus. If people weren't having children 20 years ago, there are no young people today. It's as simple as that. That's why I say the coming years are going to get harder because you always have to look backward in time. And the birth rate was very low 20 years ago. So I think this will affect other things like universities. They're going to be desperate for students. Admission is going to be very easy to colleges and universities. Otherwise, they would have to shut down. They simply won't have enough students to attend. Standards will be very low. It'll be very easy to get in. They'll offer a lot of incentives, financial aid. They'll basically waive the tuition if you're just willing to go because they need bodies in the seats. Yeah, if you move to some Eastern European country, you'll never be able to make a joke like "Wham bam, thank you, fam." Yeah, they wouldn't get it. They wouldn't get it. They say these people are, what do you call it, stern, austere, grim. I don't think they have much of a sense of humor, and especially not absurdist humor either. The absurdist humor I think would go right over their blockheads. I mean, these people, they think they're just going to wash up they wash up like these stories where some bloated sea monster washes up on a beach and they don't even know what it is, and marine biologists are stumped as to what the fuck this thing is. And it turned out it was like in some waterfall in Brazil, and it turned out to be like a hairless sloth that had lost its hair through like alopecia. It was like a hairless sloth, and it just was found at the bottom of a waterfall, and it looked like a human, like some alien. And everybody was like scratching their head as to what the fuck this thing was. That's going to be these TFLers who end up in like these former Eastern Bloc countries. Well, the hotel is only $20 a night. I think that's Hostel said too. Um, what are you gonna be doing there? You don't, big guy. You don't speak the language. You think they speak perfect fucking English? Isn't it interesting? You would have thought America would have been teaching Russian in its public schools during the Cold War, right? I mean, you would have thought, like during the 50s, 60s, 70s, they would have been teaching in the American public schools Russian during the Cold War. You would think, but instead they fixated on French. Oh, je bataille mon crayon, may I sharpen my pencil? What's the point of that? So people, I mean, where is French spoken? France and a few of these African hellholes that the French colonized and then invited everybody, all of them back home. Okay, so you can communicate to people in Algeria and France. Oh, and Quebec. All right, kind of a useless language if you ask me. Yeah, and you would have thought during the Cold War Russian would have been in vogue, but to my knowledge, I've never heard of anybody learning Russian in America. No, I mean unless like you worked in government and maybe you at age 22 uh, embarked upon it, but as a child, no, 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 no. And I guess likewise, in the former Soviet Union, they did not make an effort, probably to prevent defections or emigrations or even the hope of immigration. They did not teach English. People actually learned English from like smuggled records, like Beatles records that were smuggled into the Eastern Bloc countries in a fake hole in their car or something like that. They did not teach English. They taught Russian in these Eastern Bloc countries. So very few people there speak English today. And like I said, you may find amongst the young people that they speak a few words, but you're not going to be having a in-depth, meaningful conversation. You're not.